That's my roots, like where you came from or something like that. You get to the root of the problem. It's the starting point. It runs deep beneath the surface. It could be in your mind, so deep. And nobody can see your mind. Can anybody see what's inside your mind? No, they
Wow.
can't. Until you tell them, until you show them.
Job chapter 1, verse 7. And Yahweh said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered Yahweh and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it.
First Peter 5 and 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion walketh about seeking whom he may devour.
So he just told the Most High, he up and down, just seeing what he could see, getting into what he could get into, you know, peeping the scene. Okay. It says to beware. Beware, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary is like a lion, walking to and fro, like he just said. He checking the scene, seeking who he may devour. A lot of the times a seed was planted. Most times before we was even born. What we call it today, generational wealth or
Mm-hmm.
generational curses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It could go either way because these would look like patterns. It could look like good or bad behaviors. You say, you got them good genes that came about, you got them good manners, you got that from your family, stuff passed down. You got your fortunes, your misfortunes, right?
Um,
And then we getting into the things where it's like you got relationship problems, and your mom and mom and them auntie and them had relationship problems. You see that? And addictions that could be passed down, financial difficulties, health issues, hereditary. That's what we're talking about with the roots. The adversary planted a seed and it was then cultivated. It was cultivated and nurtured over time, a lot of the times out of weakness, because we don't yet have the strength. We don't know any better. Ignorance, right? It was cultivated out of vulnerability. Some with the tendency that they can't do better, or the mindset like, oh, that's how it's always been. That's how it's always been in the family. So we already
mhm.
accepted it. And then we give it leeway by accepting it and claiming it onto ourselves instead of plucking it out. I remember I used to tell people, some of my sisters, some of my siblings, I used to be like, don't put that on yourself. They'd be like, oh, girl, I got this. I got, this this is going on with, or my auntie got this, so I'm probably gonna get. You see how you already putting that in your mind? I was like, don't put that on yourself. Don't claim that. Don't claim it. You're now nurturing what that is. My family, they never been successful in anything. So what am I to be anything else? You know, do not claim that, because once it's in your mind, it's there to have a chance to spread like a cancer. Whatever pattern, whatever it is, whatever addiction, whatever financial difficulty, whatever health issue, whatever it is, if you claim it and hold on to it, you're gonna nurture it. You're gonna believe it. Con. Can. Some of that things, it don't even belong to you, and you taking ownership. The adversary has to try to mimic what God first planted there, y'all. And we know this because if anybody, if any one of y'all could testify, if you ever grew something in your yard, in your garden, right, and you watering it and cultivating it, and you saw something growing up beside it, and it kind of could look like, what, I didn't plant that there, but it kind of try to mimic what you was planting. The leaves starting to y'all know what I'm talking about? I be walking through my garden all the time, like, why this look like, but it's not because it don't, you could spot something is off with it.
Jeremiah 1:5, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee. And I ordained
Exactly.
thee a prophet to the nations.
Exactly. Okay. He has to mimic what God planted first. He first knew you. You see
Yeah.
that?
I literally had a palm tree growing in our old house in the backyard, just out of nowhere. But that's a different example. It literally, I think, was because the wind blew a seed at some point, or a bird might have had it, because it just came out of nowhere. And I was like, "What's sprouting up out of there?" Next to we had an aloe plant. It was growing like right next to it, and I was like, "That's weird. That aloe going, I mean, that palm tree gonna get big, and it's gonna get weird because it's close to the fence. Can't do nothing about it."
Yeah, I mean, you have things like that where you have to have this
Yeah.
discernment and okay, that's what it is, right? But a lot
Right.
of the times you actually have plants that are growing that actually look like the plant that,
Yeah.
but it ain't a great plant, but it look like a great plant, but
Can't
it don't
take
never,
it.
it don't never bloom no grapes. It's just trying to look like it. So now there's seeds of doubt there, making you doubt God's character, just eroding your trust in God. Now you're questioning what you know to be true. Now you just
Right.
around here questioning. You got a whole bunch of questions. No, no, but you already had the answer. But now you got a whole bunch of questions because you're questioning what should not be questioned, what you know to be true.
Genesis 3:1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahweh Elohim had made. And he said unto the woman, Yes, as Elohim said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden.
Exactly. You see them seeds of doubt he planted? She already know because if you read down, okay, the woman said unto the serpent, we eat of the tree of the garden, but the fruit of the tree of the garden. She already knew. She knew. She knew what was planted, but she allowed that seed of doubt to be cultivated, to be watered, and take root. That's what she allowed. What is taking root? What are we allowing? What are we watering? What are we watering? Because if we know if it's not of the Most High God, if it's not to benefit us for the things that He say that we should have, we should not be watering it.
2 Corinthians 11:13-15. For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works.
Did y'all hear what was just read? Let us see again. It says, for such a false. Well, didn't we just say you want to mimic?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They're deceitful. That's what devil means, deceive. Anybody, you see, a lot of the times we don't want to believe things in the spiritual or to believe things, period, that's happening in our lives because we've been deceived to think that the devil around here, he got a big old stick in his hand, he on fire walking around, he on fire under the dirt with a long red tail or something. Okay. When we just read that he was walking to and fro in the earth, and he still is. They are deceitful workers, transforming themselves into apostles of Christ. So they have some form of godliness, but deny God. Okay, they have to disguise themselves. And that's to transform yourself. In Corinthians 2.
2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. Lest Shaitan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices.
We should not be ignorant of his devices, y'all. It's okay, sis. You know how they say you need to know your opponent?
Mm-hmm.
Why we got to know everybody, but we don't know the adversary? And we act like we don't know his tactics. And you would know it if you would pick up this book and read. You got to know your opponent. That's 101 in any athlete, arena. You gotta know if his left is strong, if his right is hot, if he coming under southpaw, blah blah blah. You know, it's his tactics, his moves. You gotta know the playbook ain't changed. We just in 2025, it just look a little bit different. He just got in a suit and tie. I don't know. Okay, he called himself being behind the pulpit, but he still got the same playbook and planting them seeds, making you doubt, putting these things in here, doubt God, doubt yourself.
We, he's the leader of all of this stuff, of the deceitfulness on the earth. He's not doing it by himself. He didn't do this whole thing by himself. There were angels and then other things that basically followed him. So just like with Yahweh having his angels of the Lord or spirit, Holy Spirits, he's got his little followers, disguising themselves as the same thing. Sometimes they might even be disguising themselves as him, just so somebody else can believe what they're doing is right in their sight, but it's not. We got to be really mindful. It's not just one person doing everything, because he's mimicking Yah. He's not Yah.
Exactly. And that's why we just read, listen, this is the most treacherous thing. Okay. One of the most treacherous, when you find out just exactly how diabolical, okay, it is, that's exactly what we read in Second Corinthians 2, verse 13 to 15 says, like it says, false apostles. If this was just one person, if this was just one little lonesome person, okay, it says false apostles, deceitful workers, that's plural. The last time I checked, transforming themselves. All right. And we know that, we know this, we've seen this, we know this in our lives. Okay. It's taking root in our life. You holding on, you taking something that should not belong to you, and you're watering it and cultivating it, maybe unbeknownst to you, that you shouldn't take ownership of it. How can we draw out, drown out, or pluck out a seed that was planted by the adversary?
Test your own spirit first, and then test other spirits. If it's something that obviously interaction or observation and experience to kind of tell. So
1 John 4:1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world.
You cultivating something, and then now you got this big old ugly tree in your yard you can't get rid of. In your life you can't get rid of. In your mind you can't get. It's gonna be hard to get rid of because you didn't pluck it out. Seeds of doubt, and it's wreaking havoc. It's wreaking havoc in facets of your life. It's wreaking havoc. And for a lot of us sisters, for a lot of us women, one of them things is, like we take on, like we said in the beginning, relationship issues. or we don't know
Mm.
what it looked like because my parents wasn't really married, or they married, never got married, or I never known anybody to be married, or so now we take that on, you know. I don't want to
Right.
get married, or I can't find a man, I can't hold a relationship down. I You see how you have that in your mind? That root was already seed planted long time ago, and you just watering it. You just like, yeah, that's me. That's my family. That's my root, and I'm gonna water it. And then we wonder why things are not happening for us. And that was just a small example because you have to figure out what root you watering right now. Oh, yeah, is this Sirach 6 and 7? If thou wouldst get a friend, prove him first and be not
Con,
hasty to credit.
con. If you would get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. Um, the other one that I also found right, yeah, it was right there.
Mm.
It was in chapter 7, verse 12, because this was the part about like how do you prove yourself also, how do you try your spirit. This one says, devise not a lie against your brother, neither do the like to your friend. Verse 13, use not to make any manner of lie, for the custom thereof is not good. So it's one of those things where you have to figure out who you are. Where if you're new, in the middle, been in it for a while, like what is your character? Has it changed? Were you someone who fabricated, used to lie, used to omitting, or just like not telling the truth? And look at the fruit of that. Did that keep you with friends, the right friends? Did that keep you with having no friends? How did you show up with doing that? And if you realize it was wrong, when and how long had you changed that type of thought
Mhm.
process? When did you stop doing that? When did you realize that you can do better by just being honest, not putting yourself in situations where you have to like change the truth or change the facts about the situation or yourself? So that's a matter of proving you. And then once you do works for yourself, then you could probably even see it in others, or vice versa. I've sometimes observed other people and been like, oh, I I kind of relate to that, or I resonate with what they're doing. It's starting to like trigger a memory. I think I'm like that. Let me make sure I don't behave in that manner, or I've never done it, and I see somebody acting like that. I'm like, I don't ever want to be like that, because that's whatever. You're like you're astounded. You're like, oh, I'll make sure I never do that, or I never behave that way.
Mhm. Yeah, because if it's something that we recognize, you have to pluck it out, right? You don't just let it keep flourishing into something that is unprofitable, unfruitful, ungodly.
Romans 10 and 17. So then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God.
Hearing by the faith cometh by hearing, and hearing the word of the Most High. So again, you got to be in your books. We have to be in our books. Study, pray, and apply. Because we won't know. We won't be able to discern the real from the we did. That's bringing me back to the conversation we had. Can you tell the real from the fake rubies?
Mm,
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to discern what is the counterfeit. Yeah, it was counterfeit rubies. What's the counterfeit, or what is what's going like what is growing here? What am I really watering? You won't know these things if you're not reading the book. Okay. And so that's what I was asking. How can we drown out or pluck out the seed that was planted by the adversary, even if it's something that was planted before you was even born, and now you have to deal with it now. I got to deal with this big old fern in my yard. I don't want it here. What tools do I need? Because sometimes you could just rip it out and it'll grow back again, because you have to get to the roots. Okay. So studying, reading, praying to the Most High for discernment and wisdom. And then tithing. Tithing is another one. And it's not just financial, y'all, really, because um yeah, you want to tithe and give your financial, your percentage, what you can to the church, to the building, but your alms can. But what percent of your life, of your day, is the Most High really getting? What percentage is he getting? Watering and nurturing takes time. If you want the seed of God to grow in your life, you have to water it, nurture it, prune it, guide it, train it. Sometimes you gotta sing to it. Okay? This is your life. This is your garden. You have to bring it to life. We all want to see it fruitful and multiply. And that's what he said to do. And how is it going to be like that if we don't give a percentage, a good chunk of our day? Because every penny add up. So every percent that you give to the Most High add up.
Matthew chapter 7, verse 15. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree brings forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree brings forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that brings not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore by their fruits you shall know them.
You shall know them. That's another one that goes with the precept you were bringing about earlier when you prove them. You shall know them by the fruit. You're going to know this when they start growing up. You're going to be like, no, 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 no. I rebuke that. And you're hewing
Fine.
it out. I'm not going to receive what you're giving me. I don't receive it. Okay. Give no way to the adversary. You shall know them by their fruits, and then beware these false prophets, the ones in sheep's clothing, for they're ravening wolves. They want to devour your whole life and you in it.
Back in Ecclesiasticus, chapter 8, verses 11 and 15, 11 says, Rise not up in anger at the presence of an injurious person, lest he lie in wait to entrap you in your words. Verse 15, Travail not by the way with a bold fellow, lest he become grievous to you. For he will do according to his own will, and you shall perish with him through his folly. And so you were mentioning like the false prophets. A lot of the false prophets are here to injure you. They may show up differently, like sheep's clothing, but at the same time, they're here for one thing, their own agenda or whatever they agree to do to tear down what's really the truth is and follow something completely different. So even they're showing up bold, they sound like they got this righteous fire about them, but they're not, or they're just like a real angry type of person, the wrong crowd of people that you need to be around. You know what I mean? But they might just be looking a certain way that might entice you for like, well, maybe they'll protect me, or maybe, they got some wisdom about them, but they're really still here for their own agenda. And if you don't follow it, then
Right,
that's your own peril.
right. We should not be ignorant of their devices and tactics. And again, please know your opponent. You got to know. And the only way you're gonna know is if you read in this book and if you walk in it. If you walk in it.
Ephesians 4:28 through 30. Let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands the things which is good, that he may have to give to him that needeth. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of God, whereby ye are sealed unto the day of redemption.
Let him that steal no more. Let him plant no more seeds. Pluck out the seed he planted.
Isn't that what
We-
Yahushua said to the lady? He said, sin no more.
Exactly. Exactly. Whatever it is you have been doing in your life, whatever you took on in your life, whatever been handed down to you that is not fruitful in your life, hewn it out. Okay.
Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10 through 18. Finally, my brothers, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, take the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints, and for me, that utterance may be given unto me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in bonds, that therein I may speak boldly as I ought to speak.
And in the wiles of the devil, y'all, that's his trickery. His trickery. Again, we've been speaking throughout this whole thing. There's a seed that's been planted, and some of them have grown up a little bit, and it's mimicking what the Most High has already planted there. Do not continue to water it. You got to recognize it because it's trying to disguise itself and transform itself and take root in your life and wreak havoc. Wreak enough havoc. The wiles of the devil is have to know his trickery. Be not ignorant of his devices. All right. So what is taking root in your life, sisters? What will you water? What will you cultivate and bring forth?
And what will you root out?
What? Yeah. Okay.
Throw it
What you
away.
gonna root out?
Snatch that thing up. Out. Con.
God, bag it, tag it, toss it out.
That's right.
Because if you throw it right by the side, it's just gonna take root
Yeah,
again.
somebody else go
It got
You
to be
said
out the
burn it.
burn it, chop it up, put it in the bag, let it go. Don't give it another home.
Mm-mm,
Don't give it
mm-mm.
another home.
Don't give it to the neighbor next door either. No, no. But all praises to the Most High. And we hope to see you again in the same time, in the same place. Same beauty.
This made is our
This made is our
duty.
duty. Shalom.